This is Andi Purewal for ID Boxing, and I'm here in Bournemouth, joined by Benn. Shalom. Benn, how are you?
I love it. ID Boxing, good man. I'm looking forward to it. It's good to have a new player.
Obviously, we're here in Bournemouth, as we say. We appreciate the support, Ben, that you're throwing our way. What are you expecting on Saturday night between Billam-Smith and Chamberlain? I've asked a few people about the inactivity that Usyk maybe had over the last few years. Do you think that will play a part on Saturday night?
Maybe. He's definitely not had the championship rounds, but he has been a bit more active than people think. You know, Mick Hennessy's kept him busy. I think he's been rebuilding ever since what happened with Lawrence Okoli. I think we've now seen how good and how awkward Lawrence can be and what he's gone on to achieve. And Isaac's really just gone away, rebuilt, and he wanted to time his comeback right, and he feels like this is it. Headlining Sky against Billam-Smith for the European and Commonwealth titles, and he's waited his turn. He wouldn't be taking this if he wasn't ready. He's waited 4 years. He's mentally and physically ready, and I think people would be surprised, but that's what makes it exciting. And fair play to Billam-Smith, because he didn't need to take this fight. I think the law of coming to Bournemouth and being in front of his home fans meant that he wanted to have a good fight, and Isaac Chamberlain is a good fight, and it's I don't know what's going to happen, which is what makes it good.
What type of fight are you expecting? I know you said you don't know what's going to happen, but how do you, when you try to play it out in your mind, expect it to go?
I think it, as you said, it depends what Isaac Chamberlain we see. But from everything I'm speaking with Mick Hennessy and speaking with Isaac, they are ready. And if they're ready, it's going to cause problems for Chris. He really is. I think Chris's plan will be to try and get through the first 5-6 rounds and then break him down. I think, as you said, he's not had the championship rounds, but if he is fit enough, if he's robust enough, this is going to be a tough night for Chris. I really believe that. I think Isaac's quality, and he took a fight with Lawrence very early on in his career. I think he'd had 9 fights, and he got tangled in the web, and he's waited his turn. But I think, yeah, as long as Isaac's ready, this could go the distance. They're both powerful guys. They're both fit guys. If Isaac's ready to go the distance, this can go the distance, and I believe he can win.
People talk about the Riakporhe rematch for Billam-Smith, but because of them both being from London, how much bigger of a fight would Richard versus Isaac be if he was to win?
If he was to win, I think that's what's on the line here. Is you've got Lawrence and Richard, and then I would say these are 3 and 4 in Isaac and Chris, and the winner gets to put himself in the mix for the world titles. I know that's what Lawrence and Richard will think, and yeah, it's a big fight for Richard, but I think Richard's now looking at world titles. We expect him to fight for a world title this year. We're getting closer on that, and that's his focus. And I'm sure Lawrence is looking at unifications and things like that. But yeah, these two now have the chance to put themselves back in the mix. And if not, the British scene in that cruiserweight division is thriving with Jack Massey, Mikel Lawal. There's a lot of names, Dion Juma in and amongst it. So whoever loses is going to have big fights as well.
Ben, the long-awaited debut of somebody I know well, Mr. Benn Whittaker. How excited are you to see him finally step between the ropes for the first time as a professional?
It's been a long time. I think July last year was when we first made the approach. It's 12 months later, and he's debuting for the first time. It's been a long time, but I've never seen someone have such an anticipated debut. In Sky, they've seen the stars come and go, and they believe Benn Whittaker is the next star, and they are excited as well. And so, long time, Sugar Hill's here. He's decided to dedicate a large amount of his time to Ben, and that says everything. And I think he's going to be a superstar of British boxing, and we'll remember this day as his debut, and looking forward to it. It starts with a 6-rounder, no gimme, and wants to go straight into it.
What are you hoping to see from him? You said that there's been a lot of anticipation around him from when you first approached him last July. 12 months on, that anticipation has just continued to build. It hasn't just kind of died down, it's just continued to go one way forwards. What are you hoping that he shows?
I hope he shows an adaptation to the pro game, but he's so smart, Ben, that he understood what he needed for the professional. He doesn't need to become a better boxer. He's technically gifted. Anyone that's watched him box is a thing of beauty. It's about now becoming a professional fighter that has that knockout power and end fights when they want, and having that physicality. He's going to be fighting at light heavyweight, so there's some big guys in the division, and that's why he's gone with Sugar. So I want to see that physicality. I want to see that knockout power that he wants to bring into his game as well, and that's what will take him from an extremely exceptional talent, exceptionally good amateur, to being a serious threat in the pro game, and that's what he'll want to show.
The amateur and professional style is very different, Ben, but I've seen a few people kind of be critical, not just of the guys that you've got, of guys maybe Eddie's got, Frank Warren's got, in terms of the beginning of the careers of the stars you guys have and the opponents that are chosen, that maybe they're not as they're not coming into these fights to win. What do you make of anybody who has been critical of, say, the first 1 or 2 opponents of the likes of a Benn Whittaker, other Fraser Clark, like Jake Darnell, or Lauren Price, Carrie Sitingstall, the guys that you guys have?
Look, Carrick's had a good fight in the first fight. I think Fraser's opponent pulled out and we had to get someone in the last minute. It was a disastrous start, to be honest, for Fraser, and then getting injured. I think what you've got to understand is it's not just the opponent in the ring. It's the first time in front of big crowds on TV, and when it's their debut or their second fight, what do you expect? You know, they got to get used to being a professional. It's very, very different. All of these guys, whether it's Caroline, Carris, Lauren, Fraser, Ben, they all want to move fast. But it's important they have that education, the time with their trainers, the time in the gym. I know there's a lot of expectation, but these guys are human beings at the end of the day, and it's very, very difficult from going in boxing in front of no one to boxing on a calm Brookville in front of 20,000 people. And his opponent, for Fraser in particular, was changed last minute, and I think that's a rare thing. But you're seeing on this one, Fraser's got a tough opponent, Ben's got no gimme, Caroline Dubois stepping up, and I think you'll see that now. And they're going to move faster than most fighters.
So just on the Benn front, and you're speaking about them guys moving faster than most, he's mentioned the British title within 5 fights. Do you believe that's an achievable thing? I know Dan Aziz and Shaq and Peters are due to face each other on the new Liverpool card you've announced, which we'll come on to, but do you think it's achievable, Ben challenging for that within 5 fights?
I'm more interested in Benn Whittaker becoming a superstar, if I'm absolutely honest. I think we know he's going to get past British, European and world level. So for us, it's about him taking the right fights at the right time, headlining shows quicker than usual, being able to draw crowds, being able to learn his profession. He doesn't need to put pressure on himself to become British champion within 5 fights. I'm sure he has the ability. I'm sure he could fight some of them tomorrow, and so maybe he will. But the key is that he takes this by storm and becomes a star, because British boxing needs superstars. It needs people. You know, you can be a world champion. If you can't sell more than 1,000 tickets, then what does it matter? And we've seen that time and time before, and he has a potential to be a flag bearer for the sport, and that's our focus in the first year.
Ben, Liam Smith, Hassan Moutinho headlining in Liverpool on September 3rd. Now, when you guys signed Liam, a lot of people kind of assumed that the Chris Eubank Jr. fight was the one that was going to be made. On Chris Eubank Jr., there's a lot of talk of a minute that he might be facing Conor Benn in a catchweight bout. Can you just unravel that entire situation for me? Was the signing of Liam Smith looking to set up a bout with Junior?
Yeah, that's the fight we wanted. That's the fight we want straight away. Liam wants that. And we'll see what happens with that situation, but that hasn't changed. I think Hassan is a avoided fighter. He's a puncher. We saw what he did to Sam Eggington. But, of course, it's not the fight that Liam wants, but we promised we'd get him out early. We promised we'd go to Liverpool. Tasha Jonas probably join that card as well in a big fight. Fraser Clark, assuming he comes through, will also go on that card on September the 3rd. So it's a strange one, because we think it's a perfect fight for Chris Eubank Jr. Next, Liam Smith. We've got people like Charlo calling him out. This is his time to go towards world level and do what he needs to do. I'm a massive Chris Eubank Jr. fan. I think him and Conor are both at exciting times in their career. That's a massive fight whenever it happens between the two of them, but I think, does it need to happen now? I don't know.
Was it a surprise to you to hear the reports of a potential bout between them two taking place?
It was. If I'm honest, it was a surprise, because I think it was always in the back of everyone's heads, but I didn't think it would come that early. Yeah, I didn't think. But then AJ fight being on Sky, maybe, I don't know. Look, it's a big commercial fight, and whenever it happens, it will be a big fight. I just think it can be even bigger.
Contractually, what do you know of Junior's stance and position with Sky? Because we know when he signed with Wasserman, he signed a network deal with Sky. Is he free from that? Is there anything still there, like maybe 1 or 2 more fights? What's your understanding?
My understanding is that Chris is exclusive to Sky, but as I say, I'm seeing the same reports that you have. Wasserman organises events there, his promoters, they'll decide what they think is the right move for him, but my understanding is that he's a Sky Sports fighter. But look, they'll make the best decisions that they feel is the best decision for their fighter.
Say if Junior Benn happens, how does that change your plans for Liam moving beyond Moutinho, provided there's no upset there?
Liam wants a big fight next, whether that's world title, whether that's Chris Eubank Jr., and he will get a big fight next. But we are still very, very hopeful he'll be fighting Chris Eubank Jr. this year.
Sky landing the UK rights to Usyk AJ too. Now, when AJ announced his deal with DAZN, many people assumed and thought the fight was going to land on that platform. It's not the case. I just want to get your thoughts as the promoter to Sky. I know you're not involved with AJ, but working with them closely. What was your thoughts when you saw that announcement?
Well, we've been working on it for a long time as well. We helped as much as we can. At the end of the day, we work for Sky, and that was a fight that they really wanted. And it's a fight that I think collectively we all managed to get. And to be honest, every broadcaster wanted that fight. It's a massive, massive fight. I'm hoping that we'll get a couple of our lads or a couple of our girls on the show as well. I think the Saudis own the fight. They wanted to do whatever they thought was best for their fight, for their promotion. And I think it wasn't just money, it was exposure, it was promotion, it was everything that you would expect. And they made the decision to go with Sky, and it's a massive fight, probably the biggest of the year. And I'm excited. I'm just glad that it's all announced. I would have watched the fight wherever it was, and it's good that it's on Sky Sports, obviously.
You said that you think you have a chance to get a couple of your guys or girls out there on the card. Who do you think that most likely is? Obviously, you have a couple of 258 guys in Fraser and Benn. You said if Fraser comes through unscathed, he could be on the Liverpool card, which is only a couple of weeks after Saudi. But are those two kind of front runners?
I think so. It makes most sense for the 258 fighters. Obviously, long history with Sky as well. I think there's still a lot of respect there between AJ and 258 and Sky. And we obviously work with 258 closely as well, with Benn, Fraser and Shannon Ryan. And that's where the slots will come from, yeah.
Hughie Fury, Michael Hunter. Benn, what's the latest with that?
Announced next week. New date, a lot of people asking. I was gutted for Michael just because I felt sorry for him. Hughie was genuinely injured. 10 days before the fight, we had to cancel it. There was no point getting in a different opponent. It's a final eliminator. We expect the winner to fight Daniel Dubois. Massive fight for both of them. Can announce that next week.
Have you had any further conversations with Dillian White?
No.
Moving on from Dillian, that's quite a swift one there, Benn. Tyson Fury, we've seen some reports that he might be facing Thor, the mountain from Game of Thrones. Just get your thoughts if he was to have an exhibition back there.
I'd watch Tyson Fury if he was fighting you or me or anyone. Entertainer, love it.
Right, Ben, we'll leave that there now because no queues formed around me, but I appreciate your time for speaking to me as an ID boxing interview for the first time.